forecaster Nathan Kitchens here with Convective Weather, updating your forecast a little after the noon hour on this Tuesday Eastern Time. Active weather today across the south up towards the Ohio Valley and the Mid-Atlantic. Taking a look at your current radar. Thunderstorms here across portions of the south today. Rain across the Ohio Valley, and that rain is spreading up towards the Mid-Atlantic states. Quiet across the Plain states today, and the western U.S. looking very quiet right now. Pacific Northwest, you guys are enjoying a nice break in the rain or in the precipitation, but our next system will be coming on shore later on tonight, bringing that next round of precipitation. Let's take a look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook for today. We have just a marginal threat here for a few storms here in parts of Louisiana up towards Mississippi, western Alabama. A few storms could contain maybe some high winds today. We're going to have to watch that. Not a huge deal by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a marginal threat. Something to watch today as we see those thunderstorms push on through today across the south. And I'm going to show you the modeled forecast for the rest of your rest of the week. We'll take a look at how things are shaping up precipitation-wise. Again, we have that rain today across the south. That Gulf moisture moving up towards the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic. And that system will begin to push off towards the east by tomorrow morning, meaning more areas enjoying a break in the rain. Next system coming on shore tonight across the west. You can see that rain and some mountain snow here across the west later on tonight into Wednesday morning. Advancing forward throughout the day on Wednesday, you can see showers here, active weather across the western parts of the country. Also quiet weather across the center part of the country, looking nice and quiet enough towards the north. The action continues to be here across the southeast as well, where we will see scattered showers in your Wednesday forecast. And as we head into Thursday, Wednesday night into Thursday, area of high pressure here across southeast portions of Canada. This will provide some colder air across the far northeast sections of the country. And we will be watching another system lifting out of the Gulf of Mexico during this time frame. And this will begin to lift Gulf moisture streaming back up towards the north, bringing another round of heavy rain by Thursday, and also some thunderstorm activity very likely across portions of the south as well throughout the day on Thursday as this system pushes off towards the north. And looking across the west here, we're looking at a quieter pattern as some high pressure builds on in later on this week. You guys will enjoy another kind of break in the action here, so to speak. With your as far as any precipitation is concerned, you guys will see a break later on this week before the next round moves in this weekend. Now shifting back towards the south here, we have that low pressure that's going to be lifting north out of the Gulf of Mexico. Heavy rain, some thunderstorm activity spreading northward with time here Thursday night. And this is the map by 8 o'clock Friday morning. You can see heavy rain across portions of the south, some thunderstorm activity as well. And this rain is beginning to now push up towards the Ohio Valley. And the system continues to lift off towards the north Friday into Saturday. Heavy rain likely for parts of the Ohio Valley. And certainly this rain will be spreading up towards the northeast. And this is where things do get kind of interesting, because remember how I mentioned there's a brief shot of cooler air moving in later on this week across the portions of the northeast, and we will see this tropical moisture kind of streaming into that cold air mass, and this can make things kind of interesting here for parts of Maine and Vermont and New Hampshire, where we could see enough cold air in place still, lower levels of the atmosphere here, to allow for some of that snow to come down here in Maine for Saturday, and there could be some pretty heavy snowfall in that area this weekend, so that's something to keep in mind, something I'm watching. Certainly want to keep that in mind if you do live in that area or plans to head up in that area. Very active weather expected this weekend. And this is the map by Saturday evening. Our area of low pressure has scooted off here into central parts of New York. Snow is still falling across Maine. Rain across New York City, up towards even Boston, shifting towards rain as warmer air pushes in around this low pressure. Of course, the exact track of the low is still to be fine-tuned. But of course, right now the model is showing rain for Boston down towards New York City. Scattered showers here for Saturday evening. So not the best weather, of course, for your weekend, unfortunately. And the system will be pushing off into the Atlantic by Sunday. So we're looking at much quieter weather for the second half of the weekend across the eastern parts of the country. And you will also see the next round of rain, precipitation pushing into the west here by the weekend. And moving forward here towards Monday, you begin to see some are kind of a tight pressure gradient setting up here, where you see these isobars coming very tightly packed here. We're going to see a nice surge of warmth stretching here across the Midwest for Monday. Very nice warm temperatures expected, and this will briefly try to push off towards the northeast. However, you can see a strong area of high pressure pushing southward by early to mid next week. This will shove that warm air back towards the south, and it does appear some much colder air will return across the northeast parts of the country. So let's take a look now at the temperature anomalies for the rest of your week. Basically, we're looking at the departures from average. Let's go back here to today. Above normal temperatures expected for a good part of the country here, either at normal or above normal. Really, the exception being the state of Maine and Texas as far as below normal temperatures are concerned. Moving forward through the rest of the week, you can see an overall above normal regime for much of the U.S. There's that cold shot I was referring to later on this week across northeast, bringing you guys back below average. Warmer, much warmer than normal conditions across the northern plains and the Great Lakes. And that trend will continue this weekend, with an even stronger push of warmth that I mentioned for the Midwest later on this weekend into Monday. However, that's going to be a brief strong shot of warm air, and then again much colder air looks to resume after that, as that strong area of high pressure pushes off towards the south, bringing some much colder times back into the picture for the Midwest and the eastern parts of the country. Let's take a look at your precipitation outlook for the next 5 days. It's going to be, again, very active weather expected across the south, up towards the Ohio Valley, up towards the northeast, and also in the Pacific Northwest as well. Let's take a look at how much rain could fall. This is courtesy of the Weather Prediction Center, courtesy of NOAA, showing anywhere from 3 to 4 inches, if not more, of rain across portions of the south, up towards the Ohio Valley, into the northeast. A little lighter, totals around 2 inches or so. But again, flooding is going to be a big concern this week, because we had some very heavy snow last week across the south. Portions of Kentucky saw 1 to 2 feet of snow last week. Now we have to melt that. Of course, most of that snow is already melted, and that alone will cause flooding, of course, which it has. And then you add as much as 4 inches of rain over the next 7 days. This is not a good picture at all. This could definitely cause some big-time problems for flooding in this area. So do keep that in mind over the next several days. Flooding is going to be the big highlight here across portions of the south up towards the Ohio Valley. And you can also see, I don't want to leave you guys out in the west either, because we will see that precipitation moving in again tonight, tomorrow, into Thursday, perhaps across the west, bringing rounds of rainfall here. And then we're going to see a break before more precipitation streams in later on this weekend. And you can see the Weather Prediction Center here, quantitative precipitation forecast, showing as much as 4 inches of liquid here across portions of western Washington. So let's take a look now at the kind of the long-range outlook, how things are looking as we head later on into our month. Certainly, we have enjoyed we're enjoying a very nice thaw across the central and eastern parts of the country, where it has been so cold lately. And let's take a look at now some of our teleconnections. This is the Arctic oscillation, one of the signals we do look at to pinpoint how our pattern is shaping up. Right now, the Arctic oscillation, here we are. There's March 1st. We're at, today's March 10th. We're well into the positive range here. So when you got a positive Arctic oscillation, basically this means that we have lower than normal pressure here across the Arctic regions, and this is allowing for those warmer temperatures to push in across the country. But you notice here, once we get to about March, 12, 13, 14, 15 in here, and beyond that, look how it begins to take a dip now towards negative. That means when the Arctic oscillation dips negative, basically what's happening is we have stronger than normal heights across the Arctic regions. That is going to allow colder air to push back towards the parts of the central and eastern U.S. is where it's looking to really be right now as far as the focus of the real cooler air. So unfortunately, it does look like this. Certainly, the teleconnections will favor a colder regime for central and certainly, I really should say, the eastern parts of the country, especially in the northeast parts of the country later on this month. And taking a look now at our P&A pattern, specific pattern here, we got you can see it's negative right now. So that's a good, that's why we're seeing a nice warmth here across the eastern U.S. finally, as this has finally dipped negative. So not as much height, not as strong of a ridge here across the west right now. But unfortunately, you can also see this dips, or you can see it rises here into the positive range at the same time frame, mid to late March. It gets up into this more positive regime here. A positive P&A pattern suggests a ridge in the west. We're going to see increased heights here in the west, and when you get a big ridge in one area, you're going to see a trough in the other area. So when you see that big ridge set up here in the west, that's going to allow for a troughiness, if you will, across the northeast parts of the country, allowing for that cooler air to kind of move back in later on this month and kind of dominate here. And then lastly, I'm going to show you the 8 to 10 day European model. Well, if I can get it on here. Here you go. The 8 to 10 day 500 millibar heights here, courtesy of the Pennsylvania State University weather model site. Really great website. I would strongly recommend it for anybody who's interested in certainly all you weather enthusiasts out there. This is the 500 millibar height anomalies for the 8 to 10 day period here, and you can see what I'm kind of talking about here. You can see the ridge developing here across the western parts of the country. This is off the European model on this side. The right side here is showing the GFS, and you can see they're very, very similar. Again, higher than normal pressure across the Arctic regions. When you get higher than normal pressure across the Arctic regions, that's going to allow that cooler air to kind of shift back towards the south here. You can see where you got the warm air, that cold air has nowhere to go but south here across portions of the northeast of the United States, and where this trough is in place, and again, warmer than normal conditions across the west. Kind of the same regime we've been in for a long time. Now keep in mind, this won't be, when I say it's going to be colder than normal, this is not going to be anything like we saw back in February when we saw temperatures, way below zero. That's just not going to happen. It's when you're in late March, the high sun angle, much longer daylight hours, it's just not going to get as cold, certainly by any means. So that's the good news. It's not going to get that cold, not anything like we endured earlier, but just kind of a nuisance cold at this point. We're so ready for spring, and then we get these cold shots coming in. I know it's frustrating. You want to get ready for spring, and you get these cold shots coming in, but hey, we will get there. Well, that is your latest video forecast for convective weather. I'm forecasting Nathan Kitchens, and I hope you all have a great Tuesday. Thank you for watching.